welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swift Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Circlebark here with the host today, Aaron. Go and say hi, Aaron.
Hi, if you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and let us know what you think.
But other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So in this video, we'll be ranking the NFL divisions, with the ones on the top being the teams with the most contenders, and then the bottom having the least amount of contenders in it. The ones that are more runaway divisions with maybe one team kind of leading the pack. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and hop into it and show you what we're talking about. So here we have our tier list. So as you can see up here at the top, we got our loaded category, the divisions with the most contenders in them. We'll go right here. We have our up and coming category, where a lot of teams in that division are younger teams that are still on the rise, but seem to be on the right track. And then we have a runaway division, which is as mentioned before, kind of the divisions that maybe only has one real contender in it. One team kind of runs away with the division. And then at the very bottom, we have our worst division, the division that we think has the least amount of contenders in it, and possibly no real contenders in it even, depending on what team goes down here. But let's go ahead and get started with the AFC East, consisting of the New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, and New York Jets. Obviously, we saw a new quarterback get drafted to New England this offseason. I still think they're probably pretty far from contention, though, as far as that goes. Buffalo, a lot of roster turnover this year, so it'll be interesting to see how those new pieces that they brought in this offseason acclimate to the Bills system. Miami, a team that was plagued by injuries last year, seemed to be, finally ready to get over that hump that they've kind of been struggling to get over recently, and then injuries just kind of put an end to their season a little prematurely. And then the Jets, where even more so than the Dolphins, injuries plagued their team, specifically at the quarterback position, where newly acquired free agent Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles in the first drive of the season for the Jets, and basically ended their season right then and there. So, Aaron, what are your kind of thoughts on the AFC East going into this 2024 year?
The Bills are really the only team I'm convinced is a good team, and that's purely because of Josh Allen at this point. I think I have a lot more faith in him than you do. Their defense, kind of like you said, had a lot of turnover. Their offense did as well, losing Stephon Diggs, but they brought in Curtis Samuel, and then they drafted Keon Coleman. So I think they'll be all right on that side of the ball. Not convinced of the Jets quite yet. Like to see more than 4 plays out of Aaron Rodgers this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. He gets to play a good chunk of the season. And then the Dolphins, they were kind of frauds last year. They didn't really beat any good teams, and then got smoked in the playoffs against the Chiefs. So I think this will be a big stepping stone year for them. And then the Patriots just got their new, hopefully franchise guy in Drake May. But I don't really have a lot of expectations for the Patriots this year. I would probably lean towards runaway if I had to throw one in there. Um, yeah, it could be competitive as far as record goes, but I'm not sure I'm convinced of the Dolphins either.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the Dolphins, like you said, didn't beat any playoff teams outside the Cowboys last year, and the Cowboys ended up kind of proven to be frauds come playoff time. So you're not really sure if they're gonna be one of the top tier teams in the AFC this year. I do like um, the additions they made on the defensive side, bringing in guys like Chop Robinson, though. The Jets, yeah, Aaron Rodgers at this point of his career, you gotta wonder if how much he's even got left in the tank. I think I probably agree with you that it's a runaway division. I do think the Dolphins are going to take another step this year, but whether or not that's going to be enough to surpass the Bills is to be seen. So I'm okay putting them in the runaway right now. If there was something between up and coming and runaway, I think they'd probably fit right there. But because we don't have anything, we'll just slot them in right there. Next, we got the NFC East, consisting of the Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, and Commanders. Oh, this is an old. Don't mind that. This is an old logo. But, uh, yeah, some big additions in Philadelphia this offseason, bringing in guys like Saquon Barkley on the offensive side, and then on the defensive side, drafting guys like Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell in the draft this year. I think they made some great offseason additions, so I think they're gonna, continue to be successful. The Cowboys kind of proved to be frauds last year in the playoffs, losing in the first round to the seven-seeded Packers. Lost their running back in Tony Pollard, brought back their old running back in Ezekiel Elliott, so that'll be interesting to see how that works out. Dak Prescott, contract extension looming in the background as well. So you got to expect the Cowboys have another year of a bunch of expectations that they're just bound to fall short of. The Commanders, an interesting team for sure, bringing in older veteran guys like Austin Eckler this offseason. They still got wide receivers Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. They also drafted Luke McCaffrey, so that'll be fun to see. And then obviously Jaden Daniels, second overall to play quarterback. So I think they'll be a fun team to watch, but I'm not sure if they're ready to, take that next step. And then the Giants are, I don't even know what to think of the Giants, to be honest. Uh, Daniel Jones is proven to be inconsistent. They got Drew Lock, who may be just sitting there waiting to take his job. Drafted Malik Neighbors in the first round, so hopefully that brings some sort of consistency to the offensive side. But yeah, I'm not really sure about the Giants either. So I think this might be another runaway division. But Cowboy fans might not like that.
Well, the Cowboys won the division last year.
Right.
So
That's yeah.
That means they're not going to win it this year. That's just how the NFC East goes. So it's up to. I mean, if you want to be realistic, it's up to the Eagles or the Commanders. Because I have more faith in Jaden Daniels than I do Danny Dimes. Yeah. If there was one between like up and coming and runaway, because I do think the Cowboys obviously are going to be playoff contenders.
Right.
As are the Eagles. But
yeah, they don't really fit into the up and coming tier. We probably should have another one in the middle, I suppose, like the two contenders. I don't know.
right, but two contenders for a division is a lot.
No, yeah, that's like a. Sorry about that, folks. Now, do you have anything else to say about the NFC East? I guess we kind of cut that short.
Well, just to recap, because there's a quick cut. We needed another
Yeah.
category because they just honestly for both of these East divisions, they didn't really fit in what we had, so we had to add a competitive one.
Don't like that.
Yeah, because it's both of these divisions are going to be kind of competitive between the Bills and Dolphins, and then the Eagles and Cowboys. So yeah, I mean, there's just not. It'll be fun to watch. That they're like the AFC North of the NFC, where it's just any of those teams can beat each other in
Yeah.
any given week, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. The Commanders could be interesting too. Stinky team, watch out for them. And then the AFC South is our next division we'll be looking at with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, and Tennessee Titans. Jaguars trying to hopefully prove that Trevor Lawrence is the guy at quarterback this year. Had some ups and downs once again last season, so they're basically looking at the same situation they have for the last two seasons. So hopefully they can finally overcome their regular season ups and downs, demons. Colts will be interesting with Anthony Richardson finally, hopefully, getting a full season under his belt this upcoming year. Having guys like Michael Pittman Jr. and drafting Adonai Mitchell this offseason as well to throw to, along with Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, I think, is a really, really stacked receiving group for Anthony Richardson in what's essentially a rookie year to throw to. So that'll be a fun team to watch. The Titans with Will Levis, probably the last place team in the division this upcoming year, but they'll be interesting. I hope Will Levis can take that next step forward as a franchise quarterback there in Tennessee. And then Houston going all in this offseason, bringing in a ton of talent, both in free agency and trades this year. It'll be really fun to see them try to, claim the AFC crown this year. And I think they've got a chance to do it for sure if any team does in this division. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Houston came out and really surprised a lot of people last year with just how good they were, making their little playoff run. Um, Colts, would love to see uh, Anthony Richardson, more of him. Didn't see a whole lot of him in college, and then only played in like 4 games last year before he ended the season with the surgery. And then, kind of like you said, questions there in Jacksonville um, about maybe Trevor Lawrence, maybe about the team surrounding him. Who knows? And then Tennessee uh, going full rebuild mode, but it seems to have gone really quick
Yeah.
with some of the talent they acquired. Calvin Ridley, D Hop. So that'll be an interesting division to watch, and I definitely think they're one of the up and comers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think with their mixture of young quarterback talent and then the young pieces surrounding those quarterbacks as well, up and coming seems to fit perfectly for them. And if we're being honest, that's kind of the whole reason we even made this tier in the first place. So next we got the NFC South, consisting of the Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints, and Atlanta Falcons. So this one last year being pretty bad. Last few years being pretty bad. With the Bucks kind of winning the division fairly easily because they only had to go like 1 or 2 games above 500 in order to do so. Uh, but this year, I think that's going to be different. The Falcons obviously bringing in Kirk Cousins and then also Michael Penix Jr., who they're going to somehow play simultaneously this year. So that'll be fun to see how they make that work. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signing Baker Mayfield to the extension, bringing back Mike Evans, bringing back Antoine Winfield. The Bucks were able to bring back a lot of their big pieces, so I think it'll be par for the course as far as the Bucks have been these last few years. Probably hovering right around 500, maybe get up to 11 wins even. And then the Saints, interesting team, Derek Carr's still there. They did draft Spencer Rattler, so he's kind of waiting in the wings, you could say. Hopefully, learning under Derek Carr. I don't think he's really going to see any playing time this year, assuming Derek Carr stays healthy, which is always a coin toss with him. But a little bit of roster turnover, losing Michael Thomas Jr. Michael Thomas Jr. this offseason. Hopefully Chris Olave can continue to take another step forward this year. And then the Panthers with Bryce Young, who were the far and away worst team in the league last season, hopefully look to find some sort of footing. Him specifically, they brought in a lot of talent for him to hopefully throw the ball to this offseason. Xavier Leggett in the draft, who's just seems like a great guy, and I really wish the Chiefs would have drafted him. I love Xavier Worthy, but I really wanted us to take Xavier Leggett. So yeah, it's going to be more
You
than
just like
just
the way you talk.
I do. And then they also brought in Deontay Johnson, who, those two targets alone are going to be way better than old ass Adam Thielen to throw to. So, what are your thoughts on the NFC South? I think they're probably going to still be in that runaway division category, maybe competitive. Maybe.
Um, I just see a lot of teams hampered by their quarterbacks. I mean, we saw Derek Carr for how many years with the Raiders?
Yeah.
Um, having, promising team after promising team, um, and then falling short. So I don't know that the Saints are going to be anything special again this year. Panthers kind of the same. Sure they brought
Yeah,
in
no.
uh some weapons, but they were more than a couple pieces away from being a good team. Um, and we haven't really seen a lot of Bryce Young having success. So that's another team that's just kind of like up in the air. What they could be decent. I don't really see them being a playoff contender. Then the Bucks, you know, like you said, they only won their division, going barely above 500. So again, I like Baker Mayfield as a character and a guy, but I don't think he's a guy who's going to lead the Bucks on a super deep playoff run by himself. He needs a lot of help. Granted, they did add in the draft, kind of like you said, brought back Mike Evans as well. So they made moves to try and do that. And then the Falcons brought in Kirk Cousins, didn't help him immediately by going with a quarterback in the first round of the draft. Kind of like we've heard the Packers did with Jordan Love punting the pick for the future. So I don't know that they've really answered, the questions that we kind of had last year, other than that quarterback. So I think this to me is the worst division. They are definitely better than they were last year, but this to me I think is still the worst division of football.
Okay. We'll put them there for right now. My worst division's a little bit later. So whenever we get to that, we'll have the debate about which one's worse and then go from there. But with that being said, we'll move on to the AFC North, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, and Baltimore Ravens. Four teams that all could have made the playoffs last year, four teams that could all make the playoffs this next year if they play their cards right. Um, yeah, I think this is the definition of a loaded division. The Steelers stacked on defense. Hopefully, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields can be the answer to some of their questions on the offensive side of the football. The Bengals, it's all about just keeping Joe Burrow healthy. If Joe Burrow's healthy, you're a contender in the NFL. Browns, defense is stacked as well, just like the Steelers. Really, their biggest question is their quarterback. How good is Deshaun Watson still? Is really the biggest question for them. And honestly, if you can lock it up on the defensive side, that gives you as much of a chance as any team in the NFC or AFC North to win the division. So you got the Ravens, who second best team in the AFC last year, at least according to the AFC Championship game. They were the one seed in the regular season. Um, One of the best teams in football still, one of the best quarterbacks in football still, one of the best defenses in football still. So that's a combination for success, definition of a loaded division.
Yeah, I mean they're stacked. They got two arguable Super Bowl contenders and then two other playoff contenders. Not 100% sold on the Browns and the Steelers on the offensive side of the ball, but two good defenses. And then, kind of like you said, uh, the Bengals and Ravens just stacked on both sides. So I agree, loaded division.
Yeah, definition of a loaded division. And then this next one I think is right on the cusp of being considered a loaded division, at least on the up and coming for sure. You got the NFC North with the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, and Detroit Lions. Obviously, the Packers and the Lions both made the playoffs this past year. The Vikings have made the playoffs very recently, just making it the year before that. And then the Bears getting that potential franchise quarterback with the number one pick this year in Caleb Williams, bringing in a bunch of weapons like Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze to surround him, along with already having DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. So the Bears are a super fun team, super exciting team. Lions hoping to pick up right where they left off, signing Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown to and Penei Sewell to massive contracts this offseason. All three of those guys sticking around for the foreseeable future. Um, and then the Packers, showing that they could be the next great Green Bay team this past year, with Jordan Love leading a very, very, very young offense to a playoff victory over the two-seeded Cowboys, shocking the world, and then giving the Niners a run for their money in the second round as well. So they'll be an interesting team. And then you got the Vikings drafting J.J. McCarthy this offseason, signing Sam Darnold, who McCarthy's probably going to sit behind at least for the first portion of the year, you would think. But got a stacked receiving group and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. So it'll be fun to see this division shake out. I think all four of these teams could be very competitive. And I don't know if they're quite on the loaded division because some of these teams still need to prove themselves. Like, obviously, the Vikings and Bears haven't really proven what they can do yet with their new quarterbacks. The Packers, we've only seen it 1 year, and then the Lions are still kind of new to this being good game. So, what are your thoughts?
If Kirk was still in Minnesota, this would 100% be a loaded division. With that being said, there are questions. What's Minnesota going to do? Are they going to go to Sam Darnold? Are they going to go with JJ McCarthy? Um, so that's kind of up in the air. Still should be a fun offense to watch with Justin Jefferson, with whichever quarterback they decide to go with. Um, Jordan Love, they kind of started the Packers. They kind of started off the season a little bit shaky, but then really solidified um, their playoff spot later in the season as they picked up momentum. So I think they'll look to continue that up this season. Then the Lions, kind of like you said, new to this whole being good thing. Not that they weren't good with Sam Bradford, or not Sam Bradford. Oh God, Matt Stafford. Um, but just kind of limited by the players that he had around him. Um, they've definitely built up a formidable team there. Only question now is the quarterback Jared Goff, who just got paid. Um, then the Bears, I think were a little bit better last year than a lot of people give them credit for. If I remember, they were like 7-9 or something like that. With kind of a late season push with Justin Fields, and then obviously shipped him off to Pittsburgh and brought in their franchise guy of the future in Caleb Williams. So I think we've got for sure two playoff contenders, um, and then two other teams that would, at the very least, it'll be exciting to watch what they turn into. So I definitely think they're up and coming.
Yeah, and with most of those rosters being super, super young, I think it makes sense to put them in the up and coming, not the loaded. Next, we've got the AFC West, consisting of the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, and Las Vegas Raiders. Chiefs obviously being the team to run away with this division the last few years. Best quarterback in football, Patrick Mahomes. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Hopefully improve the receiving core this offseason as well. So I expect them to be right there amongst the top teams in the NFL again. Los Angeles Chargers bringing in new head coach Jim Harbaugh to hopefully fix the team around Justin Herbert, who's struggled to find success these last few seasons, which a lot of us kind of attribute to the head coach. Bringing in as well, hopefully, future multiple time All Pro offensive lineman Joe Alt this draft. So I think the Chargers could take another step forward this year. The Raiders, just an interesting team. They brought in Gardner Minshew, who is good enough to keep you competitive, but they also didn't draft a quarterback, at least not that I'm aware of. That's seeming to be the successor to Gardner Minshew, because I think he's in his late 20s now. He's not the quarterback of the future by any means. Could be a bridge quarterback, but the Raiders, I don't know how much success they're going to have this year. Their defense is pretty good, though. And then the Broncos, a team that drafted another quarterback this year, bringing in Bo Nix. They also brought in Zach Wilson, who could be the starting quarterback in Denver, which is interesting. Probably not. You would hope not, at least if you're a Denver fan. So Denver's just full of question marks, no real clue on what the heck they're gonna do. And so with the Broncos and Raiders being kind of big question marks, the Chargers being at the very early stages of a rebuild, and the Chiefs just being really the only good team in this division, it would at the very least obviously classify as a runaway. In my opinion, it's the worst division in football because the Chiefs are the only possible playoff contender. In my opinion, these other three teams could very well be three of the worst, three of the four worst teams in the AFC, along with the Patriots. So, as far as the NFC South goes, I think the Bucks could make the playoffs again. The Falcons should make the playoffs, and then if Derek Carr could stay healthy, the Saints could very well be competitive as well. So that's why I consider the AFC West the worst division.
I see where you're coming from. I think the Broncos are going to be better than you'd expect. Um, I think Bo Nix was probably one of the more NFL ready quarterbacks to come out. Not as high of a ceiling, but he's kind of already there. Played a lot in college, so you know exactly what you're getting. Um, and then the Chargers, kind of like you said, I think a lot of their woes have been attributed to their head coach and injuries. Um, I think their biggest question mark right now is their receiving core. Lost a lot of receivers in free agency, so that to me is like the only question mark for the Chargers. Other than that, I've got faith in Herbert to at least bring forward a competent team as long as he stays healthy. Uh, so that's kind of why I don't have them as the worst division. I do agree that they might be the second worst division, um, but you got one of the best teams in football and going for a three-peat. So
Yeah.
that's why I put them as a runaway.
Yeah, that's fair. It's hard to over. The Chiefs are so good that I think they kind of lift up the rest of the division by themselves. So that's fair. When you said this were the worst division, I was kind of like, oh, you might be right. I kind of changed my mind, but I had to stick to my guns and at least give my argument. So that's what I
I
came
like
up
it.
with. But I think I agree with you in the long run. And then finally, we have the NFC West with the Rams, Niners, Cardinals, and Seahawks, a division that the Niners have kind of ran away with. The Seahawks kind of just hanging around. I think they made the playoffs once, maybe twice the last few seasons. Geno Smith being the captain of that ship still, so I think their ceiling's a little limited. Niners, you expect to be in the Super Bowl hunt again. I think the Rams are going to be also a title contender, a sneaky title contender as well. I think they're going to be really good. And then the Cardinals, I think, will also kind of remain where they were last year, kind of towards the bottom of the NFC. Personally, unless Kyler Murray can really pull off a big carry job here. So I think it's competitive just because the Rams and the Niners kind of similar to the AFC East division. You got two teams that are kind of really competitive. Another team in the Seahawks/Jets that you think could also possibly make the playoffs, and then that other team that's probably one of the worst teams in football. So
I have this as a runaway. I could see the Rams winning, you know, some games. The Seahawks maybe winning some games. The Cardinals taking a step forward, but as far as winning the division, I don't think it's any question that the 49ers are going to win.
right,
And then
that's
as
fair.
far as, like making a playoff run, I don't necessarily see the Rams making a deep playoff run. I don't see the Seahawks making a deep
Oh,
playoff
that's
run.
that's right.
Um, on the Rams,
Yeah, because they've done it before. Large part of their roster's already won a Super Bowl. They know how to win playoff games.
they also lost the best defensive player of all time, arguably.
No, that's fair. I
Um,
think they did as good of a job as you can replacing him, bringing in those Florida State guys.
don't think it's going to be enough. I don't.
It's fair.
I think they'll be good. I don't think they make a deep playoff run. They might make it in as a wild card. Wouldn't be shocked at that, but I don't see them really making it to the NFC Championship game. So I think it's I think it's a runaway, if you ask me.
Okay. I think that's a fair point to have. Um, Obviously the Aaron Donald loss is going to be huge, but I just have a lot of faith, assuming Matt Stafford, Cooper Cup both stay healthy because they seem to be the ones that are the most injury plagued out of the group. Assuming those two can stay healthy, you got Puka Nakua hopefully taking another step forward. I see the Rams as a very competitive, good football team. And if they match up with the Niners in the second round, with that division rivalry, I think they could easily knock off the Niners and make the NFC Championship game. But that's just my opinion. Um, what do you think of our tier list? Do you like it? It's very symmetrical, so that's nice. I am a fan of big fan of
Didn't
symmetry.
even. um, I like it. I like it. I think it's probably about as accurate as you could get with our categories.
Yeah, I think this is far and away the best division in football, the AFC North, at least competitive by a competitive standard. You've got at least two title contenders there in the Bengals and the Ravens, and then and then two other playoff contenders in the Browns and Steelers. Up and coming, AFC South's full of young quarterbacks. I love it. Same with the NFC North, full of young quarterbacks, and I love it. Competitive divisions, you've got some more veteran teams in the NFC East, with the Eagles and Cowboys. Been there, done that. Going to be competitive all year long, just like it always is. And then the AFC East, you got the Bills who've been there, done that. The Miami Dolphins who have been there, not quite done that. And then runaway, you got the AFC West with the Chiefs, far and away the best team over there. Uh, NFC West, where the Niners, far and away the best team over there, to some people. And then the worst division, where you've got the NFC South with, yeah, just go better than 500 and you'll make the playoffs over here. So let us know down below if you agree with our opinions right here or not. Just let us know down in the comments. But unless you got anything else, Aaron, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circleberg Burkle, here with the ghost today, Aaron. Go and say bye, Aaron.
Bye.
All right. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Check out some of our other videos. But other than that, deuces.